Welcome back to the channel. Before I get started this video, I just wanted to let y'all know I will be doing a birthday live stream tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be giving away some knives and we can hang out, talk about knives, and hopefully I will see y'all there. I will do a community post probably sometimes tomorrow. And I may do kind of like Metal Complex and do a video where you can go comment on it. It's going to be an unlisted video and you'll just have to follow the link in the live stream to just go leave a comment there. You will have to be at the live stream to win any of the knives that I give away. I've done so many giveaways where more than half the prizes aren't ever claimed. So this way I know the person's there and I know I'll have a winner. It's going to be US only to win the prizes. If you are out of the US, all you have to have is somebody to ship it to you from me, like a proxy. Today we got some Remette knives to check out. I don't know if y'all saw this review, but this one right here is an X-Tuck knife, and I reviewed this a while back on the channel, and it was pretty favorable. I enjoyed it a good bit. Well, I saw that Remette had released the same exact knife. I contacted them, asked them what the deal was, and said that they purchased this design from X-Tuck, and once these are gone, this particular version that X-Tuck was selling is gone. They will not be making them anymore. Remette will be making them from here on out. Well, you can still get the Lightning Anno version like this, or you could get a new version with blasted scales and same M390 blade, same thumb stud, same pivot collar, same mill-tie clip. And one of the biggest issues for me with this knife is the Lightning Anno. If you've never had one of these knives, when it's the whole entire scale like that, it makes it pretty slick in hand because they got to semi-polish this depending on how bright they want this to get. So it's just not the best user finish. It holds up decent and it starts to look like this even when it's high polished. It's like a matte look, which, you know, I get it. Some people like it. I did it for too long, so I don't really enjoy the finish too much anymore, and it hurts the functionality in my opinion. So, like I said, you can still get this one from Remette as well, but I'm glad to see now they have a blasted version. This one has, even though it's bead blasted, it still has a decent bit of texture, way more than the Lightning Anno one. Same beautiful action. You have a front flipper that works good. You have thumb studs that work pretty darn good. And a thinly ground M390 blade. These come in at 14 thousandths behind the edge. They slice really well. And the curvature on the titanium scales, very, very comfortable in hand. That was one thing that I noticed right away, how comfortable the knife was. And that action keeps getting smoother and smoother. This is a pretty good sized knife at 7.92 inches long. It's got a 3.4 inch drop point blade. You have a dual finish here with their pearlescent, whatever that is. It's like a very fine blasted finish here and on this top swedge, and then horizontal satin on the flats right there. I haven't had any issues with their pearlescent finish corroding on me at all, so I don't really mind it. It does smudge up some, and it's a fingerprint magnet as well. It does have jimping up top, but it's more for that front flipper. It doesn't really do much for traction, and you'd have to be sitting back here. Tie frame has been skeletonized in there to bring down the weight. It's a, you know, nice weight. It's not overly heavy or anything. You have a mill-tie backspacer with an integrated lanyard loop right here. Even though the lock side scale is flush with the show side scale, they do have a nice chamfer on both sides. I have no issues getting my thumb in there. However, it would be nice to have it a little bit lower on this side just to make it a little bit easier. But like I said, for me, no problem whatsoever. They also give you a nice sharpening choil that'll give you tons of sharpening life before it starts to widen back here, all the way to where my fingernail is. The lockup on this knife sits at around 40% or so. And when I say bank vault, this thing has no play any direction. And the blade steel marking is right here. I like the way they hid that. They kept the blade completely sterile. I like that. The only branding on it is on the pocket clip. Here's a size reference with the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. And my only nitpicks with the knife are I wish the thumb studs were a little bit more textured. They don't offer a ton of grip. I don't have many issues with it, me sliding off, but it definitely could have been a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more grippy. It's not tapped for lefties. And the pocket clip retention is a little strong. I mean, I can lift it up, but it's super tight. It holds the knife in well, and it's fairly deep for being a mill-tie clip, but it is fairly tight. And lastly, I wish they would have used Torx T8 throughout the clip screw, and that one body screw is a T6. Overall, I think it's a great knife, priced pretty darn well. These come in at $219. However, make sure to check in the description above the link. If I get a discount code, it will be above the link. Next up, we have the Remette Urbane. And I gotta say, I'm glad I decided to check this one out, because whenever I see these usually on Amazon, these are usually stainless bolsters, and it's usually mystery Damascus. And I was wrong on everything that I pictured in my mind before I got this knife. These come in at $135, and like I said, if I get a discount code, I will put it above the link in the description. This is a nice size as well at 7.84 inches long with a 3.28 inch Damascus blade with a VG10 core, and it's a polished Damascus. I think it looks nice. You have a nice point right there for doing utility cuts. You can easily get that tip down into things to do drag cuts, precise precision work. And the knife came very sharp from factory, and I gotta say, I was pleased with the way the VG10 held up. It sliced well. It's got a decent height flat grind. It comes down to 14 thousandths on this one as well. I don't know exactly what the edge bevels are on these, but if I had to guess, they're probably 22, 24 degrees per side. That's usually what most knives come to me at. Right when I got started with cardboard, it was blazing through the cardboard, no problem. All my normal stuff, it did really well. And I have sharpened 2 Remette knives after the testing, and boy, does the performance jump up even better on these knives. And if you've never used VG10 before, VG10 can get screaming sharp. Holds the edge for a reasonable amount of time as well, and it's very, very corrosion resistant. Because of the way this belly goes up like that onto the tip, like I said, easy to do drag through cuts, works very well. That's really what it really shined at. You can still cut cardboard and stuff like that without sliding out, and that belly is perfect for cutting on a flat surface. Now you get about half of the cutting edge onto the surface before the bottom hits the board. You can kind of do a rocking motion. You can do the push through cut. You can do a pull through cut, push down cut. It's going to work for all of them. And I found it performed really, really well. It performed as good as most VG10 that I've tested. And like I said, even though VG10 is not my first choice, whenever I'm looking for a knife, whenever they're priced accordingly, I'm perfectly okay with it. This one also has a perfectly executed sharpening choil. You can see that plunge goes all the way to back right here. You're going to have tons of sharpening life before it starts to widen back here. We have the trifecta deployment on this one. You really have 4 means to deploy. You have a regular flipper tab, front flipper, thumb stud, and blade hole. And they all work. The flipper works. There is jimping. However, I wish it would be a little bit more grippy. I can do it pretty reliably. The front flipper works, but you definitely need to be careful that you don't hit your finger with that flipper tab. I think they could have done without the front flipper altogether. It doesn't need it. You can do the reach around. I can do the regular front flip. Like I said, I just got to grab it lower. I can do the knuckle flip. And then the thumb studs work great. They're much more comfortable on this one. Got a little bit of texture there. Grips the thumb nicely. You got a well-tuned detent for all the action. And you can use that blade hole to reverse flick if you like. It works great. Can I do it with the thumb? Yeah, I can do it with the thumb studs. It's just more comfortable to do it with that blade hole. So well done there. And whenever I got this knife out of the box, I was like, wow, this thing is extremely lightweight for its size. Well, everything that you see that's metal on here is titanium. Hardware, this scroll work, that's titanium. The liners are titanium. The backspacer's titanium. Pocket clips, titanium. And the liners have been skeletonized. The covers on these are some beautiful contoured desert ironwood covers. They look beautiful. Another thing that I thought was super cool about this is the hidden pivot. As you can see, you don't have a pivot on either side. It's behind that. And let's check out how they did that, which is pretty darn cool. They have 2 keyhole slots in the titanium, which is pretty interesting. And then on the bolster, you can see there is 2 Torx screws. And they stick up a little bit. So you just drop it into the key slot. and push it forward, it locks itself in, and then the desert ironwood scale comes up behind it so you can't push it down whenever it's put together. That's definitely a first for me. I've never seen that done like that. It was pretty darn comfortable for my medium-sized hands. You have a hidden lanyard post back here so you don't have any extra holes. Unfortunately, they went with T6 for the body screws on that. You got a nice milled titanium pocket clip that has been contoured. It functions nicely. It's got the perfect amount of tension to it, especially being on the smooth wood. Goes in and out of the pocket nicely. You have about that much sticking out. It's not, I would have liked to see it less. My lockup is sitting at around 50%. It does have a hardened stainless steel lock insert. If you can see that screw right there. The access to the lock bar is okay. It's about flush with the show side liner, but it does have that little chamfer. I can get my thumb in there pretty reliably, and I can use the fat of my thumb, so it's not bad. The lockup on mine, solid. No play up or down, left or right. I said it felt light. It's 2.95 ounces, and it has a 3.28 inch blade, so outstanding job. Here it is next to the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. My nitpicks on the knife, I would have loved to see this front flipper not there. It would have made the other deployments a little bit more enjoyable. However, I can still do the thumb flick, which is probably my favorite. I can still do the flipper. It's just a little bit slick. They should have put a little bit more texture on that flipper tab. I would have loved to see T8 hardware throughout the knife. It isn't tap for lefties. And they could have given us a little bit better lock access. Like I said, I can still reliably do it comfortably too. It could have just been a little bit better. Overall, I think it's a really nice knife, especially even at the $135 price point. I think it's well worth it for all the titanium, all the milling you have on these bolsters, how these bolsters are done, the mill tie clip along with the desert ironwood. The blade looks good. It performed nicely. And it's super lightweight. If you're looking for a nice gents carry, office carry, this would be an outstanding knife for that. Lastly, we have the Remette Chameleon. Now, I do have a discount code for sure on this one. Make sure to check down the description. The discount code does not work for the Damascus bladed version one. So if that's the one you want, you would have to pay full price for it. You get it in this particular variation with the black tie and the lightning anno inlay here with the M390 blade. You can also get it with a full lightning anno, even with the inlay right there with the same blade, or you can get it with the Damascus blade with this particular handle on it. This one is also that excellent size for EDC for me at 7.79 inches with a 3.42 inch drop point blade of Bowler M390 stainless steel. It has their pearlescent finish on it. It's like a very fine blasted finish, so it does pass through material fairly well. This one has a beautiful crown spine up top, and then that transitions into those dual fullers on both sides. You have gold anodized thumb studs. I don't love these thumb studs. I would have much rather the same ones on the Urbane, but they're okay. You do have a forward finger choil right here that I can fit my fingers in. If you had fat sausage fingers, that would be just a oversized sharpening choil for you. And this blade shape's really what got me interested in the knife, and it's probably my favorite of the bunch that I showed today. You got a nice drop point blade. You could even call that a spear point blade. If that wasn't right there, yeah, you can call that a spear point blade. You can easily use that tip to do drag cuts, precision cuts. It has a high flat grind on it, comes down to 14 thousandths behind the edge on this one as well. And this one sliced very well. I choked up when I did the cardboard cutting. It blasted through that very fast and effective. And then when I got to the wood shaving, it was pretty darn comfortable. You know, as comfortable as flat scaled knives can be. I had a lot of power behind my cuts. And when I got to that sisal rope, I was push cutting the majority of it. I got through 80 cuts with it with the breeze before I ran out of the piece I cut. And the edge still feels really nice on this. I can definitely tell it's still got a nice toothy edge to it. It was comfortable in a pinch grip. I have enough belly to cut on a flat surface easily. And then all my other tests that I do in between that, it performed really nice on those as well. Yeah, the whole edge still feels nice. The action on this one is pretty darn smooth, snappy as well. It is a crossbar lock. You use those thumb studs to flip it out, or if you want, you could use those fullers to reverse flick, or you could use those thumb studs to reverse flick. or you could use the crossbar lock to flick it out, or you can gravity flick it as well. This is a clutch lock style system, just meaning you see those 3 holes right there. The tension on the mega springs is in that middle hole on both sides. So if you wanted to increase the tension, you move it forward toward the blade and you have a little bit more tension. Or if you wanted it to be looser, you just move it back 1. And you can see there is a little small plate, stainless steel plate in there to house that crossbar lock. And you can see right there, there's the blade steel marking Bowler M390. I do think after this review, I probably will put it on the stronger setting. I like mine to have a little bit more tension than that. Now they're super smooth like this, and it's still going to be super smooth because this is riding on ceramic ball bearing, so it gives it that very glassy smooth action. Like I said earlier, you have black titanium on this one. I'm guessing it's like a PVD coating. You have a gold anodized pivot collar on both sides. You also have a little pop of color on the crossbar lock. You have an inlay of titanium with the lightning anode on it. Definitely not going to do it any justice with my lighting in here. Works better with natural light. It's got a nice little milling pattern on it. And like I said, if you love this finish, you can get the entire knife with the lightning anode. You have little chamfers on both sides with the little pop of color with the gold anode there, and on the other side you have the lightning anode on the back spacer. You have a hidden lanyard post right there. You have the lightning anode and inlay on the opposite side along with the pocket clip. Now the pocket clip functions nicely. It's got tight tension to it, but it's what you want because that inlay is mirror polished, so it's pretty slick. So you don't want this thing to come flying out of your pocket. It holds it in nicely. You can reverse that pocket clip, as you can see here. It's a completely ambidextrous knife because you can swap that pocket clip around. You can deploy it left-handed. That crossbar lock is ambidextrous as well. So this one is completely ambidextrous. Now this one is a little bit heftier at 4.52 ounces. They did mill out pockets in there to lighten it up as much as possible. Hopefully you can see that in there. Size reference with the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. Nitpicks and complaints. I would have much rather a raw stone wash finish rather than this pearlescent finish. I would have liked to see better thumb studs, more like on this Urbane. But other than that, I like this knife a lot. It performed nicely. It was comfortable. I think it looks really nice. It's got beautiful action and it carries well also. So there you go. That does it for today's video. Like I said, these will be linked down in the description. Make sure to check to see if there's any discount codes above that link. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about any one of these, feel free to ask me down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer you. I hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.